I'm Cass Kim. I am an author and an editor. I offer paid beta reading, I offer paid line editing, and I offer paid developmental editing. So, you can check out my services at casskim.casskim.com. I'll put that up here. Today we're going to be talking about commonly misused words. So these are words that I sometimes still misuse if I'm typing fast or I don't want to take the time to, look it up for a moment. If I'm just like in the zone, we all have those moments where we're in the zone and we maybe type the wrong word. But there are some words that are more common for this to happen with than others. So first we're going to talk about some of the basic ones like their, two, and two. So there, they, apostrophe R-E is the contraction of two words. They are going out to dinner. They are getting in the car. Their, T-H-E-I-R, is the possessive their. They went to their car. They own their house. And their, T-H-E-R-E, is the place there. Like they went there for dinner. Their house is the one over there. It's a place. And then we have two and two. So T-O is just like we went to this place. We went to the ball. We went to the store. Two, T-O-O, means also. Like I went there too. I went there as well. So if you're not sure which two to use, or if you think you should use the two O's, T-O-O, then you should try putting in the sentence something like also or as well and see if that can replace T-O-O. If it can, it is T-O-O. If it can't, it's probably not the right two. And then you have to the number, which is T-W-O. Then we have then and than. So then is time, like I'll meet you then, and than, T-H-A-N, is a comparative, like she is older than her. So that's how I look at it, is the A, compare. They both have A's, right? I know it's kind of a silly way to remember, but for me it works. So if you can compare it, it gets an A. So then with an E is a time, and than with an A is a comparative. After all. So this is one that I see a lot, is after all being written as one word. We went there after all. Because we say it. And when we say it, a lot of times it sounds like one word. But it is actually correctly written as two separate words. After all. No matter which way you're using it, where it falls in the sentence, grammatically speaking, the correct way to write it, after all, is two words. After all. That one gets me all the time. I'm not going to lie when I'm writing. Another one is all right. So all right, A-L-R-I-G-H-T, all right, is actually not grammatically correct for formal writing. However, it is okay for informal writing. It was first utilized, I think, like in the late 1800s. So it's okay for informal writing, and it's appropriate to use in dialogue. So I will use it a lot in dialogue if somebody says all right a lot, pretty like chill, like all right, I'll see you then. I might use that so that later on, if they're like saying something and they mean it and they're angry, I can like show the difference, like all right and like period between the two, right? But in formal writing, if you're just using it in your narration for your book or something like that, A-L-L space R-I-G-H-T. It's actually two separate words if you're being grammatically correct. All right. So then that brings us to the ones that are possessive, which is a little bit trickier for some people. So your and your. So you've got Y-O-U-R, meaning possessive your. That's your ice cream. That's your house. And then you have the contraction of you-are. Y-O-U apostrophe R-E. So if you're using an apostrophe in your, you have to have an E at the end of it, and you have to be able to take out that R-E and replace it with the word are. You are going to school. You are eating ice cream. So it can be your ice cream that you are eating, your ice cream that you're eating. So anytime that you have a contraction, unless it's possessive, anytime that you have an apostrophe, it should be a contracted word. So same thing for its. Its is tricky because it's the one possessive that doesn't seem to have that possessive apostrophe, right? So your and its don't have a possessive apostrophe. Like we think of the possessive apostrophe for like nights, a long night's journey or a long day's journey into night or something like that. You would actually put the apostrophe because the journey belongs to the day. Depending on how you're using it, of course. So for your, you don't have an apostrophe for the possessive R in your. And then for its, you actually don't have an apostrophe for the possessive S in its, which breaks a lot of those possessive S rules. But if you put the apostrophe, so IT apostrophe S, it's actually the contraction of it is. So it's, and like the pronoun sense of it's yours. Oh, hi. Okay. Sorry, I keep getting distracted today. Anyway, so it is the apostrophe. Its would be the possessive. And I think that those were the main ones that I see the most misused. As far as punctuation that I see misused, I just dropped my book on the floor. This is just a mess of a day. Thanks for hanging in here with me. I'm a little scattered. Probably because I'm wearing a sweater dress in Hawaii. I wanted to dress for winter, but it's really hot. Anyhow, things that I see a lot of times that are misused for punctuation are semicolons. So if you're going to use a semicolon, you need to make sure that both clauses of that sentence can stand alone as independent sentences. So you might write, she walked to the store to get a glass of milk. I don't know, that was not a good example. She walked to the store, it was a hot day. Those are two separate things. They have the subject and a verb, both of them, right? It was a hot day, she walked to the store. So you could use a semicolon there instead of a period if you wanted to. You can't really use a comma because they're two separate clauses. However, if you wanted to use a comma, you could say she walked to the store on a hot day. I don't know if you would need a comma for that. But anyways, you couldn't use a semicolon, she walked to the store on a hot day, because it wouldn't be, there's no subject verb to make that two totally separate sentences. So if you're using a semicolon, you have to be able to actually split those. Will I talk about effect versus affect? Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. Okay, this one I hate. I actually look this one up probably the most out of anything. So when I'm editing, I will look up things if I'm not 100% sure. And I recommend this to anybody when they're editing. Whether it's a punctuation thing or, like this apostrophe looks strange, or especially like the plural possessives, I always look up where the apostrophe goes for that because I don't want to tell my writer the wrong thing. And even if I think I know, I want to make sure that I know absolutely 100%. So effect versus affect. I feel like I need to look this up to say this live. Okay, so a side effect would be E, and then the way this affects, I don't know. I'm not going to answer that one. I'll write it on here on the YouTube video. I'll write it up here. I just want to look it up to make sure I don't say it wrong, because that's one that I look up a lot. And I'll be honest, if I'm not 100% sure about how to use a word like effect, affect, I'll actually just substitute the word. I'm not gonna lie. So if I'm editing, I will look it up to make sure that I'm double checking that my author's using it correctly. But when I'm writing, I actually just substitute those words. Kind of like restaurant, because I hate spelling restaurant. I will substitute that as well. So substitution is your friend if you're not sure. So is Google. Actually, I probably have my book behind me. This is one of the things that I use a lot to look things up if I am not sure. I use Google, of course, but I'll also use this one to double check things. So let's see what they say about affect, effect. Hang on. 45, page 45, my friends. Okay. So, effect means a result as a noun. As a verb, it means to bring about or to accomplish. So it says that, like you would use a southwestern effect, effects in pale green, very delicate effects, subtle effects, charming effect was produced. So that would be the effect. And okay, so you guys won't see this on the YouTube because you can't see the live comments, but one of the live viewers said the other day I was Googling the meaning of meaning, so double check is real. It's so true, it really is. Like, I swear, sometimes I'll just look at a word too wrong and start to second guess that I spelled it right, and I'll Google it. So that is what this book says about effect. That's weird that they don't have affect right next to it. Interesting. Let's see. Let me find it. They don't have it in here. Sorry, guys. But it does say effect as a noun means result, as a verb means to bring about or to accomplish, whereas affect means to influence is what they're saying. So my advice would be Google it or substitute it when it comes to that one. I Google it. I'm not going to lie. I Google that one all the time. But this is a pretty easy book to use, especially for things like commas and em-dashes. And since a lot of people don't know what an em-dash is, an em-dash, when you're cutting off something in conversation, so like one character interrupts another, or even a thought interrupts a thought kind of a thing, you would actually use a symbol called the em-dash. A lot of times we just type in a little dash there, but it's short. An em-dash is supposedly like the length of an M or something like that, but it's in the special symbols section of Microsoft Word, and the em-dash is actually the proper punctuation for an interruption. So an em-dash, not a regular dash for interruption. You would use a regular dash to hyphenate something. Okay, does anybody have any other questions? So I covered your, it's, there, to, there's 3 there's. I didn't cover affect, effect because I didn't want to say the wrong thing. Okay, and then for semicolons, just make sure that it's 2 complete clauses. You can't connect a subordinate clause that doesn't have its own subject and verb to another sentence using a semicolon. It's only for 2 complete sentences, unless you're doing a listing, and listing has its own special rules. So the thing that I would say, the number one thing I would say when you're not sure, look it up, because all the rules are all so different. Like for the plural possessive of like a name that ends in S, we all just automatically assume that it's going to be just the apostrophe after the S, like James apostrophe. But it actually depends on how you would say it. If you would say James's, you would do the apostrophe S still. Particularly when you're writing dialogue, all the rules are different compared to when you're writing formally. So I always recommend looking up things. Quotations can be kind of tricky. So if you're using quotes for speech, generally speaking, for speech, your punctuation goes inside the end of the quotation mark. And then always remember too that the first word of somebody's dialogue, even if it's not the first word of the actual sentence, like you're doing the dialogue tag first or you're describing something the way that they say it, comma, quotation mark, capitalize if it's the first word that that person is saying in that sentence. That gets people a lot too, because we just automatically assume you don't capitalize anything except proper nouns in the starts of sentences. But when it's dialogue, the start of that dialogue also gets capitalized. Okay, sorry I was a little scattered today. I just finished editing 30 minutes before I had to start making this video. So I am not as prepared, and also nobody asked any questions. So don't forget, you can ask questions in the Write Hive Discord server, which is under Self-Pub Help if you have questions about using like KDP or Ingram Spark or running ads, or, I don't do a lot of marketing. I've already kind of done a marketing video that you can find here where I tell everything about how much I spent on ads and how much I made in return on royalties for those books that I was running ads for. But yeah, if you have questions about editing, about writing, please feel free to ask me. You can ask me here on Instagram, Cass_Kim_writes, or you can ask me on Twitter at CassKim_writes, or you can ask me right here on YouTube, which is where this video is going to end up. In the comment section, please like and subscribe if you want to hear more about writing and editing. This was kind of a basic one, but I do get into a little bit more in-depth things, and I'm always happy to answer questions. Okay, thanks you guys. Have a wonderful week. Happy Monday. Monday.